Cleta, you're somebody who has been very involved in the whole IRS scandal, frankly, and debate. First of all, let me ask you, what do you make of the most recent calls by those in Congress for the impeachment of the commissioner?
Oh, I think it's absolutely necessary. He should never have been nominated and confirmed in the first place. He's someone who had given over $80,000 to Democrats, to Obama, Hillary Clinton, the DNC, other Democratic candidates before he was nominated. He should never have become the IRS commissioner. And since then, he's lied to Congress on multiple occasions. He has, I think, definitely he warrants impeachment, conviction, and removal.
We'll see what happens in Congress. I mean, they've called for it, but that's been going on for some time now. But there's so many groups, many of which you have helped, that were targeted by the IRS over the last 2 to 3 years. Where do things stand right now? Is there good news happening outside of Washington on this?
Well, outside of Congress, there have been 3 court actions in the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks. The Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals slapped down the IRS and the Department of Justice and ordered them to turn over to the plaintiffs in the Cincinnati lawsuit filed about the targeting, and ordered the government to turn over the list of all the groups that were targeted. It's the first time we've really gotten a real list of who was targeted. And
because before it was just people who had gotten notices and had been harassed, but the list was much longer than that.
Well, I think that we've never gotten, I don't think any of the congressional committees have ever gotten a straight answer from the IRS as to who was actually on the targeting list. Now that's been turned over to the plaintiffs, and other limited discovery is ongoing. And then, so that case is moving forward, and I think both the trial court and the circuit court are really disgusted with what they've seen coming out of the IRS and the Department of Justice, which is good for them to see what we know has been the case. And then last Thursday, the DC Circuit Court of Appeals heard arguments in our case, True the Vote versus IRS, and in the Lynchpins of Liberty case, which is the ACLJ case. The trial court in October 2014 dismissed the lawsuit, or 2015 dismissed the lawsuit, and said they were moot. And
but now they've got life again.
Well, we've appealed that decision, and the oral arguments were last week, and we feel very hopeful because one of the judges actually looked at the government lawyer and said, why should we trust the IRS? So we're hoping that we get a reversal, that these cases go back to the trial court so we can begin discovery and start to find out the truth. That's the only way we're going to get the truth, is through this litigation. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed that those are positive developments.
Final question for you. Beyond winning these cases and keeping the pressure on the IRS for where we are today, what reforms would you like to see that would alter this in the long run?
Well, I think one of the things that we have to do is we have to protect the donors to conservative organizations, because that's our lifeblood, and it's what we're going to be talking about here at the Resource Bank. And I've been working with House and Senate legislators and staff. Number one, we should repeal the requirement that exempt organizations have to turn over to the IRS their list of donors. Just repeal that requirement. And we need to put in statutory safeguards that keep the IRS or any employer or agent from using publicly filed campaign finance reports of contributions to candidates as a means of choosing who they're going to audit. I've heard too many stories the last 7 years since this whole IRS targeting began, that donors, people who give money or services to conservative groups or causes or candidates, are then targeted for audit. We have to make sure that stops.
Well, we'll stay on it. I know you're going to stay on it. Thank you for your work on this.
Thank you. Appreciate it.